This was your CI part. So VLSI was very large scale integration of number of components on a single IC, and we have a, then today we have to start introduction to the MOSFET. So as you know that VLSI is the large scale integration, and large scale integration means number of components is increasing in a single IC. So how it is possible? So it is possible definitely by using some of the scaling techniques, so that we can accommodate more number of components on a given specific area. So in that, first we'll go through some questionnaires. Like, one question is, what are the two major types of three terminal semiconductor devices? So you must have heard the word of MOSFET and BJT. These are called three terminal devices. MOSFET stands for metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistor, and whereas BJT stands for bipolar junction transistor. So these are the two devices, and then there are few comparisons of MOSFET with the BJT, due to which the MOSFET is preferred over BJT. So few are written here, like the MOSFET size is smaller and it is easier to manufacture, less power utilization, and this is the backbone of your VLSI. And there are a number of reasons to which it is preferred over BJT. So let us first make a fair comparison between these two. So these are the two devices, let's say bipolar, BJT and MOSFET. So like in bipolar, there were two different configurations, NPN and PNP. Like in the MOSFET also, it will have two configurations, NNP channel, and the terminal names like collector, base, emitter is replaced by drain, gate and source. Okay. So few of the parameters which is here, like output current. If we see output current in case of MOSFET, it is controlled by the input gate voltage, whereas in the BJT it is controlled by the input bias current. What does this shows? That the output in both the case, what is the output? Output is nothing but the current. I is the output, whereas in the BJT output current, what is the input here? It is controlled by input gate voltage. Means here V in is voltage, input is in the form of voltage, whereas it is controlled by the input as a current. This is nothing but your base current. So this means which type of device is a MOSFET? MOSFET is a voltage control device, and BJT is a current control device, because controlling parameter is different in MOSFET and in BJT. So here this input voltage is nothing but the gate voltage. So it is a voltage controlled, and which type of output is there? Current is the output. So we say MOSFET as a voltage controlled current source. It is nothing but a voltage controlled current source type of device, whereas BJT is called as a current controlled current source of a device. Okay. And also if you see iode by in is the same unit, so you will get some numerical factor that is called your gain, whereas in MOSFET it is I by V. I by V is what? It is nothing but the unit of conductance. Okay, so the gain factor here will be decided by the GM, which is called a transconductance. Okay, so that is the nature of output current in both the devices. Coming to the cost, MOSFET, if we fabricate in a very small number, then it will be quite costlier. But if we go for massive production, it is cheaper. Okay, compared to BJT. Then ESD stands for electrostatic discharge. So it can be easily damaged with the electrostatic charge when we deal with the very short channel, or when the in your MOSFET, if you remember, there is a oxide thickness TOX. If it is very small, then what happens? From the gate to the channel, there can be a short circuit path. So that's why there is a high risk of ESD in MOSFET if the oxide thickness is very less, very small, whereas in BJT is not a problem. Coming to the gain, it has a very high current gain, which is nearly constant for varying drain currents. That we'll see through the graph, that how why it is constant. Whereas in the case of BJT, it has a lower current gain, and though it is not also a constant, because it is a function of temperature. So with the temperature change, there is a change in the current, due to which the gain also changes with temperature. So gain increases with temperature increase. So what we do in BJT, we need to provide some type of stabilization technique so that my gain should remain constant. Then comparing the input resistance, if we see the MOSFET has an input resistance of in terms of mega ohms or greater than that, and whereas in BJT it is low. So why it is high? Because your gate is insulated there, so there is no path from gate to the channel. So almost it is forming like a, and there is very less current, or if you neglect the leakage current, then it is almost zero current flowing. So very high resistance is there. So for AC signal, this figure can be much lower due to capacitance of the device. It means between the terminals of a MOSFET, there will be some parasitics. And due to parasitics, there must be some current also will be flowing when we are providing with AC signal. So that time maybe this the amount of input resistance may decrease, but though it will be always greater than BJT. And if we check, if we will cross check here this magnitude, then the input current will be observed in case of MOSFET, it will be ranging in picoamperes, whereas for BJT it will ranges in milliamperes range. Then coming to the effective output voltage, output is, now MOSFET is here, here is drain, and this is source. So what is this voltage? Overdrive voltage. So VDS voltage is around is 20 millivolts, whereas VC 200 millivolts. So what does it mean? This is nothing but the heat dissipation. So in case of MOSFET, there is a lower heat dissipation, but whereas for BJT, when it is in the saturated condition completely on, then the heat dissipation is more. And then compared to the switching speed, it is faster than bipolar, whereas it is BJT is slower than MOSFET, and that is due to which it has a better frequency response, means bandwidth will be better. And when we compare the voltages, so when the MOSFET is fully turned on, means when it is in the saturation region, the potential drop across the device will be around this 20 millivolt, and when BJT is turned on, it is 200 millivolt. Okay, so the same thing here, due to which the heat dissipation of BJT is more compared to MOSFET. Then coming to the bias input voltage, that N channel needs voltage only up to that value which can cross the threshold. So it is plus 4 to plus 4, 2 to 4 volt to turn on, whereas BJT needs input voltage of 0.7 volts, relatively low, but it needs a large biasing current to make the transistor operation, because it is a current control device. Then for the thermal runaway, MOSFET heats, when the MOSFET heats up, what happens? The current through them decreases there, because it is a positive temperature coefficient. So with the temperature increase, the MOSFET current decreases, whereas BJT is the opposite case. With increasing temperature, the current also rises. So the case of thermal runaway or the case of damage is more in BJT with increase in temperature compared to the MOSFET. And it also provides additional advantage, like we can do parallel connection. Suppose some current is coming, if I connect MOSFETs in parallel, and if due to temperature some MOSFETs is get heated up, so what happens, the resistance will be high, so the current will follow the least resistance path. In this way we can protect the devices. So looking at these advantages like high frequency, better input resistance, the MOSFET is preferred for the fabrication of today's ICs. So now coming to the MOSFET, since the MOSFET has so many advantages, so coming to the types of MOSFET, it can be classified in JFET and the MOSFET. The difference is only it is a joint field effect, junction field effect transistor, whereas MOSFET is has a insulated gate. So in the MOSFET, the gate is insulated by a dielectric material, which is your silicon oxide. So it is also called as a metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistor. It is also known as insulated gate field effect transistor. The further classification of MOSFET can be done, like it can be classified into the enhancement mode and the depletion mode. Enhancement mode means there is no channel existence before 0 volt, means unless the voltage is applied, the MOSFET will not provide any amount of current. Whereas depletion mode means already the channel is, the MOSFET has a channel which is in the depleted form, And in the absence of voltage, gate voltage also, there will be some amount of current flowing. So that is a depletion type of MOSFET. Depending upon the type of requirements, these MOSFETs are picked up. Then further classification is your type, like N channel, P channel. It also consists of N and P channel. So let us get just overview of MOSFET. How MOSFET is drawn, like a P type substrate, like we have to draw a N channel MOSFET. N channel MOSFET. Now which type of MOSFET is required? N channel means electron. So for that, a P type substrate is chosen. P type substrate, 2 N plus region is doped. Okay, this 2 N plus region, over to that is a metal deposited, and from metal a connection is taken out, and the left out area here, it is again doped with a SiO2 layer. This is your SiO2 layer, silicon oxide, which acts as a dielectric. Over to that, a metal layer is deposited and a terminal is connected here. So what are these terminals? One of the terminal name is your drain. The middle terminal is, this one is named as gate, and this one is named as source. And then what happens when we apply gate some positive voltage? Since it is p-type, here some negative charge will be attracted, and a channel inversion will take place at this place, and a path will be created from this drain to this source. And then depending upon the amount of gate voltage and the amount of drain voltage, or you can say the difference between the drain and source voltage, the current flows. Okay, so that we'll see here through pictorial view. So okay, so let us first see the symbols. So these are the basic symbols which you will see across your books. Like generally the MOSFET is having four terminals, and the fourth terminal is named is bulk. But when we go for the designing of the circuits, we either go for analog or we go for digital. Okay, we go in any of the two domains. When we go for analog, that time these four terminals is very important, because depending upon the bulk potential, we can vary the threshold voltage, and varying the threshold voltage will definitely affect my amount of gate voltage, how much we can give. So that's why in analog we are working either with 3 or with 4, but in case of digital we are only bothered about the switching of the voltages. So that time generally we prefer these three terminal devices. And what happens in the case of these three terminal devices, the fourth terminal is actually present there, but it is in the form of invisible, means it is grounded. If we take NMOS, the fourth terminal, that is bulk, will be in the ground position. All the bulk will be in the ground potential, and whereas for PMOS, if we consider, all the bulk terminal will be connected to supply. Okay, or you can connect to the source itself. Somewhere you will see connection to the source. So that's why in the digital architecture this fourth terminal is not shown, but most often you will see this fourth terminal in the design of analog circuits. So these are the possible three symbols of your N channel. So how to detect it is NMOS or PMOS? Looking at the arrow direction. If we are working with fourth terminal and the arrow is going inward direction, then it is a NMOS, and if the arrow is going in the outward direction, then it is a PMOS. Similarly, if three terminals are present, then the arrow always will be present at the source terminal. So this is the another form where the arrow will be present at the source terminal and it will be facing in the outward direction. Actually, the movement is in the anti-clockwise direction. So from bulk, if it moves, it will go like this. So arrow will come at outward direction. In the case of PMOS again, the arrow will be present always at the source terminal. So this is present at the source terminal, and then if we revolve in the anti-clockwise, what will happen? It will go in this fashion. So inward arrow. So if suppose this symbol is there, how to detect this is whether NMOS or PMOS? So first you need to know where is the arrow direction. If the arrow is inward, this means it is a PMOS. If the arrow is outward, then it is a NMOS. So suppose if outward arrow is there, so if outward arrow is there, some question, is there any reason for direction of arrow? Actually, it is to detect the type of MOSFET. Okay, which MOSFET is there. Current will always flows from drain to source. The current direction is always from drain to source. Arrow is to detect the type of MOSFET. So like if you are using this symbol and if arrow is not present, then you cannot determine which is source, which is drain, and second you cannot determine which is type of MOSFET. So if I am presenting this arrow like this means definitely this is nothing but your source terminal. Once you identify this is source, and so other terminal which will be your drain, and the input will be gate. If the arrow is present at the bottom, that means this is your source, this is your drain, and this will be your gate. So first, you looking at the arrow, I can determine where is the source terminal. Second, looking at the arrow direction, I can determine, yes. Second, using at the arrow direction, I can determine the type of device. Like here, it is going inward direction. This means it is PMOS. Here, it is going in the outward direction. This means it is NMOS. Okay, so this arrow is very important in the symbol. Third case, you can see when there is no arrow information, and if this symbol is there, so we can identify looking at the gate node. So at the gate, if suppose three terminals are used and no arrow is used, then a bubble symbol will be used. If a bubble is present, this means it is a your PMOS. If bubble is not there, this means it is a NMOS. And what this bubble represents your active low and active high. When I have to operate gate with voltage of positive voltage, then this means this symbol is active. If I have to operate with negative, then means this symbol is active. Okay, negative means your zero potential, because in digital we have to deal only with zero and ones. So this is the one way, but here the problem is identification of source and drain. So in this case, for the third symbol, it is assumed that it is a pure symmetrical device. Nothing will happen, either you will change source or drain to source. Okay, so these are the possible representation of your devices which you will see. And mainly in the digital circuits, you will see this third symbol most prominent used. So now coming to the device structure and operation. So or you know that any MOSFET, first we need the substrate. So this is your substrate connection. This is your, let's see this figure. This is your substrate, and substrate, since we are creating an NMOS transistor, so this is substrate which is of P type. Then we have a two N plus region doped here. One N plus is called your drain and another is called your source. And where is gate form? For the gate, first we need to deposit one silicon oxide layer. This silicon oxide, this is your silicon oxide, the white part, and over to that a metal is deposited, and the terminal connection is called your gate terminal. So this is your front view, and this is your top view. So this is the structure of the MOSFET. Let's go in the some animations are there, so I will present in slide form from current slide. 1 minute. Okay, so this was your N channel MOSFET. So the name is that there is a two n-doped regions which are called your drain and source. Then there is a layer of SiO2, and then a metal is placed over the top of SiO2 which forms the gate electrode. So this way, this is the structure of the MOSFET. Now comes the working. So working means there basically three steps are there. First, your um, depletion is there, then inversion accumulation is there, then inversion is there. So this is the structure of MOSFET. Here, if you see, if we see detail, means if we zoom out the area between the length between the source and drain, this is your drain part, this is your source part. If you see, there is ideally, if this is your, let's say this is your drain and plus, and this is your source. I want my gate to be in between. This means from this edge to this edge, I will deposit SiO2, and then over that I will deposit a metal and I will form a gate. But in practical, when we do fabrication, when we go for fabrication, it is not possible to make the alignment, perfect alignment. So what happens, in order if the structure is like this, instead of getting the perfect alignment, if during manufacturing some defect comes and it comes like fabrication of this one, so what happens, between the gate edge and this source edge there is a gap left. Okay, so here the chance that there can be no channel. So my MOSFET will not be in the working condition. So this is a manufacturing defect. So in order to protect these defects, we do some overlapping of the gate length with the drain. So here what you see, this is the overlapping area. Okay, so that we should be always in the safe region. Our money should not go in waste. So we do some overlapping to the drain and source area. So when we do the overlapping between the source and drain area, definitely my length should be reduced. So what is my actual length of working? So my actual length where the inversion will take place is this region, and this is called your L effective. EFF means effective channel length. This will be a channel, and this is the effective channel length, and the complete length is this one, from the gate is to the another, the length taken is called your L drawn, which is manufactured. So how much is the difference of the over, how much is the difference between the actual length and the effective length, is the overlapping area. And how much the overlapping area, let's say it is denoted by LD. So what will be the L effective then? L effective will be gained by L drawn, which we know from the manufacturing company, from the data sheet I can know what is L drawn. And also there will be information of LD. LD means the overlapping area. So LD is at the drain side, also the LD is at the source side. What I will do here, minus LD minus LD. So I will get here L drawn minus 2LD. So this will be the effective channel length where the current flow will happen. Okay. So L effective is given by L minus 2LD, where LD is the side diffusion of the source and drain. Okay. And here this is the metal layer, but here instead of metal they have used the polysilicon. This is nothing but the polysilicon. So polysilicon has other advantage over the metals. So that's why at that terminal we have used silicon also. Okay, one more thing is here. Now if you see this MOSFET architecture in the data sheet, if you go, you will see here, suppose if it is a, instead of poly, if it is a metal, and this is your dielectric, and this is your channel length, here means p type substrate. So this also represent nothing but a capacitor form. This is nothing but metal insulator, and this is substrate. Okay, so substrate, what we can represent, MIS, or sometimes it is given by MIM, metal insulator metal. It's not metal source substrate. So this also forms a capacitor. Sometimes there is a poly insulator capacitor also, because on the top depends upon means on the gate which type of material we have deposited, either it is metal or it is a polysilicon. Okay, so let's say device structure and operation. The name MOSFET is derived from its physical structure, because physical structure means metal oxide semiconductor field effect transistor. So the name comes from the physical structure. And however, many MOSFETs do not actually means metal. Polysilicon is used instead. Okay, sometimes in case of metal, the polysilicon is used at the gate, and this has no effect on modeling and operation as described here. Another name of MOSFET is given by IGFET, is insulated gate field effect transistor. And what this device? This device composed of two PN junctions. However, they need to be maintained in the reverse bias at all the time. What means, like this is N and this is P type substrate. So what will happen here? A diode will be formed. Okay, anode and cathode is there. So a diode will be formed. Now when, what is my interest of current? The interest of current is from in the channel region. This is here I need the current to be flown. But since when if diode is on, what happens here also some current will flow. So we need to ensure always that these diodes must be in the off condition. So how to make it in the off condition? So we have to reverse bias the diodes. So how to reverse bias the diodes? Just using the voltage polarity or the magnitude of voltage. So if at drain we give positive voltage and source is this substrate, I make it ground. So what will happen? This diode will be always in the off condition. Coming to the source, since it is the substrate, the common substrate, this is grounded. What about this source? Either we can give here ground or we can give minus voltage here. Since if we are working with digital, we cannot give negative voltage. This means we can give only ground. So what is happening? This source and this substrate comes to the same potential. This comes to the same potential, due to which this diode is in the off condition. So that's why when we deal with in the digital circuit, in the NMOS case, the fourth terminal, which is a substrate, is nothing but it is sorted with the source. Okay, sometimes either it is sorted with the source, and if source is grounded, you can say the bulk is, this bulk is grounded. Always in the digital, this bulk is try to be in the ground potential in order to save the pin cost. Okay. So this line means the same thing. The device is composed of two PN junctions, two diodes, and they need to be in reverse bias all the times. Okay, so drain will be always biased at positive voltage with respect to source, and will not conduce conduction of current in this manner. Okay. Because they do not contribute much current, so their effect is negligible. Now this is the device structure. Now in this device structure, suppose drain and source no potential is given, and gate voltage is also zero. So what will happen? It will resemble like this figure. Only two diodes are there. It is a common point, and no potential is given, no current will flow. So with zero voltage applied to the gate, two back to back diodes exist in series. This will be in series between the drain and source. They prevent the current conduction from drain to source when a voltage VDS is applied. So here, since no potential is there, no current will flow, and a very high resistance we will see in here because no I is zero, almost zero. Now when we apply voltage, what happens? The charge will be deposited here. This charge will try to attract the charge. Before to that, hmm, this charge will try to attract the negative charge here, and a depletion region will be formed. So this white region is nothing but your depletion region. Now since this gate is uniformly distributed, this means the gate voltage will be uniformly distributed towards source and drain side, so the depletion width will be also same at the both the sides. So first the VGS is applied and it will build a positive charge. Then after that, what will happen? Free holes will be repelled, a depletion region will be formed there, and then negative ions will come there, charges will come there, and a path will be created between drain and source. So this is the charge accumulation taking place, and then a path will be created from the source to drain where the current will flow. But still the current will not flow in this case. Why? Because current flows only when Ohm's law is obeyed. What is Ohm's law? Ohm's law says that the current I will be depending on the potential difference must be there with some channel resistance. Some resistance would be there. Then only the current will exist. So since here the channel is created, but drain and source both are at the same potential, so no potential difference is there, so no current will flow. So in order to make the current flow, we have to provide some voltage at the drain node. So at the drain, some potential will be applied, and it will create the current flow. So a current will flow once the potential is applied here. The current will flow from drain to source. So what happens? So before the current flow in during the channel inversion, how much should be the gate voltage? The gate voltage magnitude must be equal to the at least to the threshold voltage of the MOSFET, so that the channel inversion completely takes place. So what is threshold voltage? It is the minimum voltage of VGS. VGS means the gate voltage required to form the conducting channel between the drain and source. If it is a NMOS, it will be a positive, and if it is a PMOS, it will be negative. So the symbol is VTN. The suffix n will show you the threshold voltage of NMOS, and if P is there, it will show the threshold voltage of PMOS. And it works on the field effect principle, that JFET principle. SiO2 acts as a dielectric layer, and then there is one equation called overdrive voltage. So overdrive voltage means the excess voltage to the threshold, means the minimum voltage is Vt is required. Over to that, if any voltage is applied at the gate, and the difference of that voltage is called as a overdrive voltage. So what will be the overdrive definition? It will be the difference between the gate to source minus Vt. If VGS is given equal to Vt, then what is overdrive? Overdrive is 0 volt. Okay. Then comes the other parameter is your oxide capacitance is there. Oxide capacitance means metal is there, then SiO2 layer is there, and then substrate is there. So between this is your oxide layer. So since it is oxide layer, a capacitance is formed. So the capacitance name is COX, oxide capacitance. So it is the capacitance of the parallel plate capacitor per unit area. It is measured in per unit area, and it is given by COX is given by epsilon ox by TOX. TOX is your oxide thickness, and epsilon ox is permittivity of the oxide, and it is given by 3.4 pi epsilon minus 11 farad per meter. So what is threshold voltage? So if we see the threshold voltage, basically the four physical components plays role in determining the threshold voltage of the MOSFETs. Number one is the work function difference between the gate and the channel. Okay. The second is the gate voltage component to the change of the surface potential. How much gate voltage to be there so that the surface potential should change. And the third component is the gate voltage component to offset the depletion region charge. Okay, so how much is the depletion charge? First, we need to overcome all the depletion charge, then only we can create a channel for that. And the fourth is the voltage component required to offset fixed charges in the gate oxide in the silicon oxide interface. So once we overcome all this, we get the magnitude of the threshold voltage. The so the work function difference between the gate and the channel reflects the built-in potential of the MOSFET. So what is the gate to channel work for this for potential is given by, if it is a metal gate, it is given by phi f of the substrate minus phi m of the metal, and if it is a polysilicon, then this metal is replaced by a gate name. Gate is nothing but your polysilicon, so phi f of the polysilicon. So the externally applied gate voltage must be changed. It should be that much so that there is a surface inversion and a channel is created, and it has been approximated that potential must be equals to the twice the Fermi potential. At least it should be equal to the twice of Fermi potential. And where phi f for the n type, it will be given by kT by q and d by ni. So this will be the threshold voltage equation. So in the threshold voltage equation, if you see this Vt naught, this Vt naught is the manufacturer constant. Okay, this is the manufacturing cost. When the device is fabricated with the amount of doping and all the other concentrations, impurities, then magnitude of the threshold voltage is estimated, that is denoted by Vt naught. Now this Vt naught also depends upon the other factor which is in the user hand, that is your VSB voltage. VSB means V source and minus V bulk. So we have seen that source and bulk is generally at the same potential in order to make the diode in the reverse bias condition. But many a times what happens, the bulk and source cannot be at the same potential, because in digital, as I told, the bulk will be always grounded for the case of NMOS, and for the case of PMOS, this bulk will be always connected to supply. Okay, and here is source, and for this here is source. Suppose this source is not grounded, instead of grounded, it is having a series connection with another MOSFET. Let's say it is A, this is B, and here is ground. So for this particular MOSFET, this source and this bulk is not at the same potential. So there is a voltage difference between the source and bulk. Similarly, in the case of PMOS, suppose this is a PMOS and it is a series connection. So this is VDD, but this is a source which is not at the same potential at VDD. So there is some VSB voltage. So due to this VSB, there is change in the threshold voltage, and how that threshold voltage changes is according to this relation. Okay. So this is the thing. Suppose if VSB voltage is 0, if suppose my connection is such a fashion that it there is no, this means source and bulk are at the same potential, then what will happen to VT expression? So VT will get the expression of VT naught plus gamma square root of, it is mod of minus 2 phi f plus VSB a magnitude of 2 phi f. So VSB is 0, so mod will result in 2 phi f and minus this mod is there, so positive quantity to 2 phi f. So this is cancelled out, so we get VT naught. So there will be no change in the threshold voltage. Suppose your VSB is negative, so this factor is changed to negative. This means what, here minus sign will come. Once minus sign is coming, then what will happen, this both will get added up. Okay, and since mod is there, so this quantity will be higher than compared to this. Let's say it is A and this is B, so here A will be greater than B. So what will happen, my VT will get increased. Okay, once my VT get increased, and if my VGS, the input voltage, is equal to the threshold voltage, and due to this VSB, what will happen, this MOSFET will again go into the cutoff condition because my VT got increased. Similarly, if we take that VSB instead of positive, VSB change to negative, it changes to positive value. Then what happens? If it changes to positive value, then what happens? This magnitude, let's say it is A and this is B, so A will become less than B. So what will happen? Due to this, here a minus factor will come and the VT will get reduced. This means I can modulate my VT, I can increase or I can decrease my VT depending upon source to bulk potential. Okay, now how much will be the change? So this change in the threshold voltage is very minute. Okay, so for the digital case it will not affect much, but if we go for the analog circuits, in analog circuits we are also working with the millivolt signals. So those millivolt signals can be affected by this increase or decrease of VT. So that time this VT increase or decrease concept is used to achieve the low power. How low power? Suppose I want a low power, low, suppose I have a low voltage signal. ठीक है, a VT is suppose 1 volt and my V input is only, let's say my ECG signal is there, it is of 0.8 volt, and if I give to the MOSFET 0.8 volt where it is having VT equals to 1 volt, it will not turn on. So how to turn on? Either we have to give extra voltage, I have to dump some extra DC voltage, or if I dump some DC voltage, so might be there can be possibility that the information can be damaged. So another way, if I reduce my VT such a fashion that VT reduces to 0.7 volt, then my MOSFET will be turned on. So that can be achieved by this principle. By VSB change we can reduce the VT and we can achieve our target. So generally in the analog circuits, there is a basic role for this VT expression. However, for digital it is very less mentally differentiating because we are working with the switching voltages, so logic 1 and logic 0, which is sufficiently very high. Okay. So what are the key points here to see for the threshold voltage expressions? The substrate Fermi potential, which is phi f, is negative in NMOS and positive in PMOS. So kindly note this thing, the sign convention which will be used in your problem solving. Phi f if it is NMOS and it is a PMOS. So if we talk, when we talk about phi f, when we talk about phi f, so it is for NMOS it will be negative and for PMOS it will be positive. The depletion region charge densities QB and QB naught are negative in NMOS and positive in PMOS. Okay, however this we have not dealt with. The substrate body effect gamma is positive for NMOS, so this gamma will be positive for NMOS, and it will be negative for PMOS. And the substrate voltage VSB is positive for NMOS. So keeping this is actually VSB is positive means your threshold voltage is reduced. And why it is given positive? Because if it is NMOS, bulk is always grounded. So Vs minus Vb, this is always 0. So for NMOS, VSB is nothing but Vs. And Vs we cannot connect to the negative voltage because in digital there is no negative concept. So what happens? So this VSB is always positive for the NMOS case. Whereas when we take the PMOS case, so Vs minus Vb. So Vs minus Vb is your Vs minus Vb is nothing but VDD. Nothing can go beyond VDD, and it can be a possible case can be that Vs can be low. So that's why VSB always will be negative in PMOS. So we can from here we can say that VSB is positive for PMOS and negative for positive for NMOS and negative for PMOS. Okay. Now, what will be the benefit of knowing these sign conventions? Suppose in a problem it which said that the Fermi potential is given of minus zero point 0.2 volt, and where the VSB is minus 3 volt. Calculate the current. So what will happen? Looking at the sign conventions, I can determine it is talking about which type of device, whether we have to go for PMOS current or whether we have to go for NMOS current, or whether it is a PMOS type of MOSFET or it is N type of MOSFET. So these sign conventions help us to determine the type of MOSFETs. And gamma is the body coefficient which is given by this factor. So typically the threshold voltage of enhancement and channel MOSFET is a positive quantity, whereas threshold voltage for PMOS will be a negative quantity. Okay. And the last is VTH, which will be positive for NMOS and negative for PMOS. Okay, so phi f is negative for NMOS, gamma is another gamma, VSB and VTH will be positive, whereas for PMOS case the phi f will be positive and other things will be negative. Okay, so problem is there. This problem we'll do in the next class because it will take some time.